We'll start. Okay, welcome everybody. I guess what we'll start with is the moment of silence, followed by the.
We actually have to do the roll
pledge, or
call
do we
real
want
quick.
do roll call, yes,
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
I'm out of order.
You're good. Chairperson Terry Bavona,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Ellen Paul,
Present.
Committee Member Dennis Jones,
Here.
Committee Member Denise Ritchie. All right.
Okay, so now we'll roll into a moment of silence,
Yes,
followed by the
ma'am.
pledge. Okay, here we go, moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just on an administrative note, do we have to do anything with Ellen, since we voted her in as,
Yes, I did see that.
yeah, you did see that at the last meeting? Or are we
So
just,
it's one of those things I can ask if you are okay with the nomination of being Vice
Sure.
Chairperson.
Sure.
And just noting that in the record from now on that she's okay with it and that she accepts the nomination. We're all good.
Okay, I didn't want to start without that. So, okay, so first item on our agenda is we'll open it up for public input. Any public input? Two?
Yeah.
Great.
Sorry about that.
You're standing.
So I am Kevin McCann, the mayor of the city of Winter Springs, and I'll use City Hall as my address for now, if that's okay. I just wanted to take a moment on behalf of the City Commission to formally say thank you. Thank you for volunteering your time. What you're doing is important work. I know that you don't meet often, but the decisions that you're going to be challenged with making and the data that you're going to be looking at is very, very important, particularly for Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa makes up just over a third of the residents of the city of Winter Springs, with nearly 5,000 households. The challenges that you're going to be faced with have real impacts. And I just, again, want to say thank you. You are, as you folks know me, I sat on this board. I sat on the board of directors for the Tuscaloosa Homeowners Association. I was the president of the Tuscaloosa Homeowners Association. I still attend their meetings and kind of keep a pulse. That's where I live. It's my community. That's where this board is where I started. And I am kind of passionate about it. You are currently going to be challenged with probably some of the most difficult decision-making and challenges that this board's been faced with for a long, long time. And then your recommendations will go to the City Commission, and then we will make a decision based in part on what you folks say. You represent the residents of Tuscaloosa. And we really do need to hear from you. I have just moments ago received some of the information that you guys are going to be covering today. Listen, boy, I know that you will listen carefully. And I wish we had another member here to just kind of round it out. But this is really important stuff, and we have some real challenges. We just did a budget amendment with the city because this board is upside down. You don't have enough money to pay the bills, and that's a fact. And what are we going to do with the future of Tuscaloosa? And I'm not pushing an agenda one way or the other. I'm asking that you look at the numbers and let your own mind guide you, form your own decisions. But we are talking about the future of Tuscaloosa. Do we keep the fountains? Do we keep the standards of Winter Springs Boulevard? Do we cut back on that expectation of Tuscaloosa? Where do we stand? I think we're faced with, there are some real challenges. Look, I think most of us are conservative fiscal folks that understand that raising fees that's painful to some folks. We also know that inflation has been at 24% over the last 5 years, and this group has not actually risen the ceiling rate on what we charge the residents of Tuscaloosa in, what, 30 years or something?
Since
You know?
2007.
I'm sorry?
2007.
2007.
Yeah.
Thank you, Holly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got some challenges. And what are we going to do? I just, again, in closing, thank you for your work. You've got some difficult decisions, and you're going to look at some real hard facts and numbers, and we have to make a decision one way or the other. We do it, we don't do it, but I appreciate the work that you're doing again on behalf of the City Commission and all the residents of Tuscaloosa and the city. Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
If I can do one other thing, just want to make sure, and if we can, maybe to those that are not present, send them my contact information. You know, you folks cannot talk amongst yourselves when you're not in a formal meeting about the things that you're voting on, right? Sunshine laws. But you and I can have conversations about it. So if you have questions about the numbers, if you have questions that you know, there's something, or if you want to have a cup of coffee, let me give you my cell number, and let's talk about these real important issues. And I'm going to try to stay as neutral as I can without influencing. Let you make your decisions, but I want to make sure that you have all the data and all the questions, you know, that you have what you need. Okay?
Very good.
Very good. Thank you.
There you go.
I'm going to give you one of these too.
Yeah,
This is, that
Okay.
wasn't attached. Yes.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you to the staff for everything you do. I'm going to get out of your way and let you talk without me influencing.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's a hard act to follow.
Yeah, that is. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm Ted Doss. I live at 701 Sybilwood Circle. I'm the one on the corner of Trotwood, Sybilwood, and I back up to Tuscaloosa Road. Part of the beautification district includes the easement that is on my property and across the way. And that's the specifics that I'm coming to talk about. And after hearing what the mayor had to say, I know I'm almost feel like I'm barking up a wrong tree, but anyway, but I'm still going to be here and say it. Duke Energy finally got power restored there. I'm not sure why it has been off so long, but it was off for most of 23 and 24, I think, and was on for a little bit and then went off again, and it's been off since at least November of 24 until I think it was Wednesday of last week. Anyway, I say that because one of the things that is done, the city puts up decorations at Christmas. Those decorations weren't lit up because there was no power to light them, because I don't know the issues. I think the Duke fellow, I happened to see him out there, and he told me that there was a transformer or something that was messed up somewhere else off the site, but that was controlling the power there. But I've brought pictures if you want to see them. I have pictures. They're all on my phone. They're not printed out. But I can get them to you. That shows at Christmas time when across the way Oak Forest has all their lights on and we had nothing on our side. You know, the whole thing, you all know because you're on the board with this. But, you know, the whole purpose of the Tuscaloosa Beautification Lighting District was because Tuscaloosa is a special place. It's a special area development, and to keep it looking that way and make it that way. And budget things are probably a big part of it, but it's fallen down. As a resident, I've lived in my house for 32 years, I believe it is. So I was around, you know, when this was done. In speaking about funding, the way it was sold to us was, this is what it's going to cost. This is the assessment for each property. You could either pay it in one lump sum now, or you can pay it over, it seems like it was 20 years. But every year on my taxes, I'm paying for some of it. So obviously, to do anything more, I'm assuming it's going to take either some sort of special action that we vote upon, that the voters vote upon, but I don't know, and I'm not going to get into that. Point is, on that, with now that electricity's on, the pictures I brought now, there is one light that works on my side. There are no lights that work across Trotwood on the other side in Father Blewett's yard. All the other lights are torn up. They're on the ground. It hasn't been mulched in quite a while. The plants have been tended, but they're starting to go down. one of the results of the lack of electricity is that the irrigation system wasn't working. And before the rains came a week and a half ago, the crotons were all starting to die. My wife and I, we went out and watered both sides. We took jugs of water to water them ourselves to keep them alive, and fortunately rain came. But the point is, it's a district that's made up for the whole development, and therefore the whole development should be taken care of, not just an individual homeowner who happens to live there and do that. So I'm just giving you my input because the lighting part is something, the sign that says Tuscarora is not lit the way it's supposed to be. There's one light that goes up in the trees, and it's nice and it's pretty, but it's not doing what it was supposed to do. So I've made the point, and I know your time is precious, so thank you for giving me the chance to give some input.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I had no idea.
No. Why aren't we aware of that?
I wasn't aware of that.
No.
Any more public input, or need public input? Okay, we'll close public input. All right. Okay, we'll close public input and move on to the minutes, the approval of the minutes. Where I make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I move that we approve them
Do we have a
the
chance to
minutes
review the minutes
from the last
time?
meeting.
I think she emailed them out to us. Yeah,
Yeah.
she emailed them before the,
No, I know I have.
yeah, oh, yeah, the minutes of
I guess we'll address
2/19.
it when we get to today. Okay, I'll second it.
Ready to do a quick roll call. Chairperson Bavona?
A.
Was that a nay? I apologize.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Aye.
Vice
Yay.
Chairperson Paul?
Aye.
Committee Member Jones?
Aye.
Okay, let's move on to the expense reports, right? Item 500, the quarterly fiscal year-to-date expenditure detail report. I think that's next.
Correct. Good evening, Holly Queen, Finance Director, City of Winter Springs. You guys have in front of you the year-to-date financials for fiscal year 2025 through the end of April. Just some high-level highlights. In fountains, we have a total year-to-date expense of $5,400 with an ending balance of $14,000 in there. One of the items that the mayor brought up previously about a budget amendment, so you all know the North Fountain has been down for quite a while, and Kevin can talk about that when it gets to his turn. But the budget amendment that we took in front of commission was to get that North Fountain back up and going. At the time that the 2025 budget was put together, it was not broken, and we did not expect it to cost as much as it's going to get it fixed. So we did have to appropriate from fund balance to be able to cover that. And we can talk about that when it gets further on to the projects. The next thing is the grounds. So your original budget's $159,000. Year-to-date expense total is $113,000 with $42,000 left encumbered, leaving us with a small ending balance of $3,400. Signs, very small. We bought some American flags, leaving a small balance of $42. Our contract and administrative, so a big portion of that this year is for the rate study that we're going to talk about in the future that we budgeted for this year. And the rest of that is for NBS, which handles the administration of sending out the ad valorem assessment rolls to each of the individual homeowners. Moving on with utilities, budget of $74,000. So far, you've spent $23,000, leaving an ending balance of $50,000. In that account, we don't encumber any funds. There's no POs, so that will should be sufficient to cover the rest of the utilities for the rest of the year. And the last portion is the streetlights. Again, there's an ending balance there of $132,000, which again, that does not have any encumbrances, so that should be sufficient to cover those expenditures through the end of the year. Did you have any specific questions regarding line items on the year-to-date expenditures?
I have a question pertaining to the streetlights. We talked about this at the last meeting. There seems to be plenty of funds to complete what was ever started, such as the light changing out the light, and then the painting of the poles around the community. But it's pretty sporadic, and I'm just wondering, where are we with that? I don't know if you have the photos that I took, and if I'm addressing the proper person, but this is what I ran into driving around the last couple of days, where that's a picture of a pole without a light on it. That's a picture of a light with a light gray painting of the pole, and next one. Directly across, well, that's a pole that was never completely painted at the base. Next.
Okay.
Is that it? Is all
Actually,
you have?
that pole's a stop sign or something, correct? That's not a light
That
pole.
might be a.
Yeah, that's a stop sign or a
or
street sign or, yeah.
A street sign.
Yeah,
but
those have not, those
there's
aren't
another
included
one.
with the Duke Energy.
That's a Duke Energy.
No,
issue?
those are not included with the Duke Energy monies, or the other poles with the lights on them.
So am I to understand we paint the pole, but we don't paint the base? Or, because that's what I'm looking at.
No. What I'm saying is that they haven't. Those have not been done at all. The stop signs and street signs have not been painted. The Duke Energy poles, all the Duke Energy light poles are supplied by Duke Energy, as well as the light fixtures. There is no paint on those poles. Those are a solid colored concrete pole with aggregate, exposed aggregate. But the black poles that you have there, that's actually something that we're going to be talking about as far as redoing all those poles. Because there's approximately 123 of them, from what I've counted, within the community that need to be repainted.
That picture there
Uh-huh.
is across the street from the very first picture. They're both light poles. One's painted black, one is the gray concrete that you were talking about. That's just the differences that I see as I drive through the community. Those are right across the street from each other on Northern Way,
Okay.
Okay.
at the intersection of Deer Run. My overall question is there a plan to complete what looks like has not been finished on the street lights and so forth?
To my knowledge, everything, and this is something that was being dealt with by a previous city staff. To my knowledge, everything has been installed that Duke, or all the lights have been changed. That was, and poles replaced that needed to be replaced, being it structural or what have you.
So
So-
we'll have to reach out to Duke
Yeah, I'll
and
have to
find
reach
out
out
the
to Duke.
status
What it
of
is that
that
what you're saying?
project. Say that again?
It's kind of, what we see is what we're having or dealing with.
We'll have to reach out to Duke and find out
Okay.
where
I-
the process is.
Yeah, I would think all the poles should be the same, the
Same
new dark
color, yeah.
color, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's consistency throughout the neighborhood, right?
Do you know about what time they stopped working on that, or you noticed them leaving?
Now, driving through the neighborhood, you just, like,
It's kind of random.
it's been a long time.
Okay.
And we talked about it, I know 2 meetings ago and then last meeting, but another thing that I observed too was there is actually a complete street where it's the old light fixture with the arm that hangs out kind of over the street with a globe on it.
Okay.
On Ermine, almost the entire street is like that. And I guess I'm just looking for consistency, and, you know, the title of this board is Lighting and Beautification. So I kind of focus on that.
The decorative poles are only on like Deer Run and Northern, but Ermine has got the regular street lights. They're not decorative like on
Yeah.
my street.
That's what I
So
was
they're different.
just mentioning, yeah.
Okay, we'd have to pull the detailed contracts to see what
Yeah.
was originally laid out in the assessment district. I know I've been going through a lot of historical documents. A lot of stuff was laid out in 1999, early 2000s. So there's a lot of detailed legal descriptions of where things are. So we'll have to do some more research on that and coordinate with Duke. Unfortunately, I've been, buried in the numbers side of it, so we can catch up with Duke and figure out what the process is to get that project re-going.
Yeah, I mean, these are clearly across the street
Yeah,
from
clearly
each
need,
other.
especially the one missing the top of the pole for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's
For
quite,
sure.
that's a
What
obvious
was the
one.
location of the pole that's missing the light?
Ermine. Oh, the one without a
The one with that
light
one
on
there.
top
That
of
guy?
it? That's on Northern Way, and it's near, I want to say near Wood Duck,
Okay,
on the north end of Northern Way,
okay,
north side of Winter Springs Boulevard.
thank you.
I believe on that one, we can definitely put in a request directly with Duke to get the top of it taken care of, the painting and the updating of those. That'll take a different discussion. We'll
Yeah.
have to find out who the
I just need to
contractor
find the location so I can get the number
The
on
number
it.
off.
Yeah. Northern Way.
All right, were there any other questions
And
about
that's part
that?
of the streetlight costs, right?
Yeah,
Their
so
maintenance is on that,
The
right?
part of that is the lease and the maintenance of the poles,
Of the
correct?
poles,
So,
correct,
yes,
right.
we need to hold their feet to the fire to come out and
And we have
get
plenty
them
of
taken
money.
care of.
Yeah, we have plenty of money in that bucket. I had a question on the landscaping, though, on the grounds. And I had asked the city clerk to send me a copy of the contract, because I just wanted to take a look at it. I noticed that the price went up in April, about $530 from what we were paying in the past.
That was
Um,
for the new contract that went
at-
out to bid.
Right, but at the last meeting, y'all told us that there was no price increase. We just approved the minutes, and you said our pricing would stay the same, if I remember correctly.
I don't
think
believe
it's
it
in
was
the min-
exactly the same. It's a little bit, but it's relatively close. It's a lot better than what we anticipated we were going to
It's
get.
an 8% increase. I'm just curious why, because I think at our last minute, the minutes we just approved, just said, we asked you to take a look at the contract. And I think you all said that the price would remain the same as the current contract. 501 in last month's, February 19th minutes. The price remains the same as the current contract price.
I said, if I remember correct, I thought I
Maybe-
said it should remain the same.
Then maybe the minutes need to be revised?
Because at the time, we didn't have anything back.
Yeah, I don't think we had the formal bid.
No, we didn't have any bids back at that time.
So it looks like we're looking at an 8% increase in landscaping this year,
Yeah,
right?
it's around 7.3 is what I calculated
7.5,
monthly, yeah.
8. And the other thing is fertilizer and fungicide. It's over $50,000 in cost on that for those islands, I assume.
Yes, it's for, it's for
$50,000 for the
all the-
islands, right?
all the medians, all the landscaped areas, correct, that TLBD is responsible for. Yes,
Right,
ma'am.
but we've never paid that. I went back the last 5 or 6 years. Either it was included in contracts in the past,
No,
which I
ma'am.
don't think it was,
It's never been included.
and we've never paid it ever before.
Correct. And that's why we had to do it this time. That's why we forewent, it was either mulch or fertilizer this year. For the past couple of years, I've been instructed we're not going to go that route with the fertilizers. This year, I made the decision that we needed to go that route to sustain what we have because it's been so long. So we did soil tests. That includes soil testing, soil amendments, and fertilizers and fungicide.
Yeah, just saying, the balance is now $3,000, so.
I understand.
I just, if we were trying to like pick and choose what we had to spend money on, I don't know if this would have been one of my choices.
Well, then,
For another year, maybe another, year, we could have put it off or something. I just think that's a lot of money on a budget that's, crippled.
I agree. I know it is a
Yeah.
lot of money. But again, at the time, I made, the
Yeah.
best decision I could, that I thought would benefit the community. Like I said, it's been such a long time since it's been done, and to sustain what landscaping we do have, I felt it's an expense that needed to happen.
So why is it so expensive, Kevin? Because I don't understand it. I mean, I went on the internet, and you could buy a bag of fertilizer for for $100. It covers 10,000 square feet. I went to DIY places, commercial places, and looked for buy it by the gallon, and you can spray it. And it's $145, and it covers, 43 acres, something like that. This is $53,000 for 2 chemicals to put on islands, and I don't know what the square feet of all those islands are.
About 15 acres.
It's about 15 acres.
It's roughly 15 to 16 acres is roughly what you have that's heavily landscaped. So
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah,
please?
it's just a lot of money that
Understand.
we just didn't have.
Brian Dunnigan, Director of Administrative Services and Operations. So keep in mind, you're also paying for the application,
Yeah.
which requires a license through the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. So it's not something that just a regular landscaper can do. You're paying for a certified professional from the state to apply those chemicals. And the other thing I would mention is fertilizers, pest control products, different things like that. There's a lot of nuance in what products you get in terms of active ingredients. So you have to have a very discerning eye when you're comparing one product to another. There's a lot of detail in those labels that shows exactly how much active ingredients are in those products and how much value you're getting for your money.
So you're saying that 15 acres at $53,000 is how much an acre, Holly? I don't have a calculator in front of me, but, even if I round it to 10, that's a lot of money.
$3,000
Correct.
an acre.
$3,000
Yep.
an acre to
Yep.
land that?
Yeah, so just speaking from experience, Central Winds Park has 30 acres of sports turf. They spend far more than $50,000 a year to fertilize just sports turf, not including other landscaped areas. Fertilizer is also a commodity. There's a lot of factors that put pressure on that market in terms of price, along with other herbicides, pesticides. Those things are extremely prone to inflation as the price of manufacturing goes up, as the price of raw materials go up. I mean, frankly, not to get too in the weeds, but the war in Ukraine and Russia had a huge impact on the fertilizer market in the United States. And we've experienced those cost inflations, not only for the fertilizers that Kevin is using in the TLBD, but in all of the areas in the city, including parks and other areas as well.
Yeah. We've just never seen an expense this high before. Since I've been on the board, and I've been here for a while as well. And I know we have had mulch. I know we've had mulch, and it's been about $30,000 or so, but this is $50,000,
Yes.
not 30.
I understand. And just to echo what Brian was saying, is a lot of it, a lot of these chemicals and fertilizers, the petroleum, petroleum is a major ingredient along with many, many minerals. And echoing what Brian was saying again, about the war and inflation, it has driven the cost of fertilizers through the roof. Commercial fertilizers is what we're using. But again, this also included these are soil tests. We did soil tests all the way down the boulevard and all the landscaped areas, because you have to adjust your pH for the soils to even, because if you just use a fertilizer on a soil and the pH is off, the plants won't absorb what the nutrients you're putting down. So we did soil tests all the way down, and then we amended the soil with, whether it be potash or lime or whatever, to raise or lower the pH to get it to where they need to be for the plants to uptake the nutrients. So there is some of that built into that cost as well.
Yeah. I'm not saying it didn't need to happen.
Yeah,
I'm just
no,
saying
I
it didn't need
understand.
to happen this year on a budget that is anemic.
I
think-
understand.
I think the
When-
hard-
When,
yeah.
when last meeting, the reserve of representatives said, hey, can I have $400 worth of plants to go put in a planter? And we said, no, we really don't have the money for that. But yet we didn't squish a little bit out of here to get that. I'm just saying, we're just trying to juggle what the people want. That's who we represent.
I understand completely.
And that's visual to them. They drive through their communities every single day. Not going to see the fertilizer. They'll see the effects of the fertilizer, I get it.
Correct.
But, they're looking for a couple of plants and a planter in front of their subdivision, and we kind of said, we don't have the budget for it, right?
I understand.
Yeah. I'm just trying to balance what the community wants and the needs of the landscaping, plants and bushes and all that. But I appreciate the explanation.
I have a question about that too, if I could. Just for reference in the future, that expense just happened because it's part of the overall budget. It's not something that would be brought to the board and reviewed.
I don't think it was in the budget at all, to be honest.
No, I
was-
don't believe it was in the budget.
Yeah, I think it's an
Correct.
unbudgeted item, if I remember, Holly. If we haven't done it in the last 3 years, it wouldn't be in the budget, correct?
I'd have to look and see at the detail.
Yeah, I don't think it was in
I
the
think it would
budget.
just be nice to be able to discuss that before the money is spent. But, I don't know if we get a chance to do that in the future or not.
Had we budgeted for the mulch, and this
Yes.
took the place of
Yes.
what we had
Yes.
budgeted for the mulch?
Correct,
It's 20 more.
But it was $20,000 more.
correct.
But if we hadn't have fertilized, would the plants have died and then we had to spend money to replace the plants? If they
That's,
had
it's
deteriorated?
part, that's part of the reason why a lot of the plants have died, is lack of
Because it
nutrition.
needed- Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That was good. Thanks.
It was
Kevin. I
kind of a
appreciate it.
stop the bleeding, if you will.
And that cost was just for our area,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
Because I noticed, I don't know what you do in Oak Forest, but I didn't see any fertilizer on their bill either, even though their costs went up 8% as well. That's all.
Yeah.
Just trying to see, should they have eaten some fertilizer costs as well? If you didn't fertilize there, you didn't fertilize there.
Yes, they did not get fertilized.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Any other specific
Yeah.
questions about the
Anything else,
actuals?
guys? Did you see anything else on there? That stood out, and oh, and then what happened, the budget also fertilized,
So,
right? So we had 540, another $1,100 in fertilizer from the budget tree people too. So are they fertilizing the same fertilizer that,
no. So, on that invoice, it's specific to your six Sylvester palms that you have left. As you know, we have a terrible disease going around right now that's taking out palms left and right. And Sylvester palms are your most expensive palms. You know, they're 15 to 20,000 a piece to replace. So what this is, it's a fertilizer and injections to prevent them from getting the disease. There's been the one at the front when you're coming off of Tuscaloosa Road, the one that was removed there about a year ago. That one, it's called lethal bronzing or phoenix bronzing. That one was removed because it had that disease. The two in the median out just in front of that on the two bullnoses that have been replaced, those two were also taken out probably 3 years ago from the lethal bronzing. What that charge is, to answer your question, it is a fertilizer. They do fertilize at the same time, but they're injecting the trees so they do not catch this to try to prevent these palms from going down, if you will. They're doing those throughout the city. Blumberg, we have a number of them on Blumberg as well. It's just a preventative measure, is all it is, to try to save some money, and from having to replace them or cut them down.
they're worth $20,000 each? Can we sell them?
And they're very, very expensive because they're very, very slow growing. But yeah, they're extremely expensive trees.
Wow.
And it's something that, that's part of the reason that the first one hasn't been replaced yet. We're going to explore some different options up there which we'll get into later, but, for a different species up there that might not be a lot less susceptible to that disease.
How many we have left?
You've 6,
6 left?
yes.
So they all haven't been treated, just these 2, or?
No, there's
did I miss-
6.
Oh,
6.
There's 6. It's 4 treatment, or 3 or 4 treatments.
oh,
It's a total of $2,000, I believe.
$540 a quarter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but-
$540 a quarter.
Oh, a quarter.
So it's,
Okay, got it.
yeah, it's
I
4
didn't realize
treatments.
that. I don't remember seeing that. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fertilizer on more fertilizer, I was going, okay.
Yeah, no, it's a separate item, if you
Okay.
will.
Okay, that was my other question, that's all I had, thanks. And that and the water, but I think the water is just what it is. I didn't see, we didn't have any major leaks or anything like that, did we?
No.
We just haven't had any rain.
Yeah, just no rain. It is what it is. Anybody else have any questions? Dennis, you got another?
Yeah, I had another question, just for explanation purposes, because I honestly don't understand everything that's on here, but the Seneca, you have a category, Seneca, Shetland, Dyson, medians, 21, 22, and 23, and it's also incorporated in the fountain. Most of late last year and the beginning of this year,
Irrigation.
the expense has been between $500 and $1,000. And then in January, it jumped up to $2,700 for the same category, same location. And then in March, $1,700. And then again, the first part of April, almost $2,900. Could you just kind of fill me in what?
That's the
Why
irrigation.
is it so sporadic from?
Because the irrigation timers are on, the controller is on, it has a rain sensor. So if it doesn't detect rain, it's gonna, of course, run more than it would normally. And also, so during your non-grow season, if you will, that's why it's so low, is because there's a setting on there for seasonal. We don't have to water as much during the dormant season. So that's why, it is lower in the non-growing season and higher in the growing season, especially when we had no rain whatsoever in the month, in almost all of April.
Okay. That's all I had.
Ellen, anything? No? Okay, we're good. Okay, so that was the fiscal. The next 501 is update on Tuscarora projects.
Yep. I know I've already been speaking, but good afternoon. It's Kevin Maddox, Urban Beautification Manager, City of Winter Springs. Just real quick, this section is going to go fast because in the next section, we're really going to touch on some things. But this is just going to pretty much be pertaining to the fountains. So the North Fountain, last we spoke, we had selected a vendor and actually contracted the contractor to begin work. They began work, worked on the fountain for about approximately a month, and walked off the job.
Great.
No explanation, which is very strange because they were the contractor who did the South Fountain. So I don't know why they walked off the job. I had experience with them. The proposal seemed in line, as far as comprehensive, it seemed comprehensive. And, they just walked off the job. So, that's part of, why we had to do the, budget amendment, because the next proposal in line was considerably higher, which is actually who we're gonna end up having to, use, because we've exhausted all efforts to find anybody that will work on these fountains because of the age of the pipes.
Do they have any of our money?
No,
No.
absolutely none.
And it's not the same kind of contractor you have working on other fountains here within the
No.
community, right?
No.
Because you have other fountains within Winter Springs,
Correct.
right? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Actually, the current contractor who is doing the maintenance on the fountains throughout the city, including TLBD, is it's called New Wave. They are actually the contractor who will be doing this repair, so they will be able to monitor their repair on a weekly basis.
I hate to ask the question, but what's your timeline?
Um,
I asked it last meeting and
honestly,
we were
it's
told 2 weeks.
well, yeah, I know.
13.
Sorry, Kevin.
And,
We're
and no,
13,
it's
Kevin.
I understand
so I
completely.
have-
It's I
13.
that's why I wear a hat. I am about bald, and
Yeah.
it's because of these fountains. But
We're trying not to pick on you.
no, I know it. Honestly, if staff is asking direction from you, if that is what you would like to do, is move forward with New Wave doing the repair, then we're going to proceed. And I honestly, last time when I spoke with them last, it would take them 7 days to get the parts in, and they said they could have the repair done in approximately 3 to 5 days.
When did they tell you this, sir?
This was a couple weeks ago, probably 2 weeks ago.
Cost?
Cost is $42,000.
Did you have another proposal?
Yes, $25,000. That's the one that walked off the job.
And then you had a third quote that was, I want to say, around 50,000.
Yes, it was. Well, it was 50,
Right.
almost 56.
Okay, let me ask you, what do we get for $40,000?
Yeah.
What are we getting?
Everything's brand new.
Everything being
Pumps,
vaults?
yeah,
being
vault,
pumps,
pumps, you name it. Everything that's in the ground except for the piping is going to be new, including new filtration, all the wiring, controls. Everything will be new. It'll be identical as far as mechanically identical to the south fountain, mechanically.
So it's 15,000 more than what we were paying the guy, right? 'Cause
Correct.
we were paying the 25,000 for him to do it. Now the cost is up to 40. Sometimes cheapest
42.
isn't always better, right?
Yeah,
And that's 15 more that we would have to ditch out of the budget, right?
Correct.
correct.
Let me just ask you another question on the other guy, on the other fountain there. Remember the little water spouts weren't going up so high?
Yep.
Right? Is that going to be fixed as well?
Yes, that is going to
Okay.
be fixed as well. That's their, so they've diagnosed the issue. They're currently, New Wave has diagnosed the issue. They're currently working on that now to remedy that. What it is there's an issue with the skimmer. I don't want to get too in the weeds, but there's an issue with leaves and debris getting into the pump that's clogging them. That's why they would be real high and then they start going back down. They were getting debris in the pump, which isn't damaging the pump. It's just restricting flow. So that, again, New Wave has diagnosed it and they're currently working on getting that repaired.
I thought we put screens in there for that
There,
too.
there is a
Yeah,
screen, but
yeah.
apparently it's getting around the screens, and
Gosh.
we're not sure. Well, they've figured out what's going on.
Okay, so I guess you want a motion from us to see if we'd like to go ahead and move forward with New Wave?
Well,
Or
my-
you want to wait and have more discussion here?
I think we have a choice.
I don't think we do either.
I have a question. Backing up and referring to the mayor's comments,
Mhm.
has there been a proposal to shut down the fountains altogether?
No,
Not that I'm
Okay.
aware of.
Good,
Good.
okay. 'Cause
no,
I-
there's been no proposal, no.
We don't want 4,000
no energy.
homeowners on our case.
Yeah, no, there's been no
Vote
energy
on that right
put
now.
I don't think we have enough
into
room in here.
into that just as of right now.
Okay, good.
We've
Okay,
already spent the money to fix them.
yeah, I think we need to spend,
Well, my understanding is there hasn't been an increase in the assessment since what,
2007,
2007.
2007?
I think, yeah, but
18 years.
I think what
And it's
Kevin's
in
looking
the-
for is us to
yeah.
finish the job here on fixing the south fountain, right? So,
So I
Tell
just-
us what you need.
it needs a motion from us to,
Correct. We'd
move
just like
forward.
clarification for you guys to make a motion that we will move forward. We already got the budget amendment approved, so we'd like, you guys to go ahead and say that that's what you'd like us to do, and we can get the PO issued this
Mhm.
week.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we move ahead with that new budget. Is that what you want to hear?
Yes.
And I'll second.
All right, I'll do official roll call. Chairperson Terry Bavona,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Ella Paul,
Aye.
Committee Member Dennis Jones.
Aye.
Let me ask you a question. Does the city have to take the lowest bid from when you throw it out for an RFP or RFI? Or
We
when
don't
you throw it out?
have to.
You don't have to,
We don't
okay.
absolutely have to. If there's a reason that we feel that a contractor is better suited or that they've misbid, we actually had an incident come up recently with a debris removal for some of the waterways. If it's in the best interest of the citizens to not take the lowest bid, that is applicable.
It is?
Yes.
Okay, just didn't realize.
And in this instance, the lowest bid walked off the job, so we,
Yeah. Luckily, it just costs time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but luckily.
Yeah,
So-
you know, we are lucky in that
Yeah.
case. Yeah, I didn't know that.
And again, I made the decision based on, we had just done work with them and they did a good job,
they did,
and,
yeah.
you know, I did not foresee that.
I wouldn't have either, actually. So I guess they're not a vendor now on our approved list of vendors for
We
Winter
actually
Springs,
have
right?
unactivated them in our vendor list.
Yes.
Knock them off. Okay. Okay, so we hopefully can see a fountains going up again. It seems like it's been 2 years.
I know.
It seems like a long time. Okay, I guess anything else, Kevin, you have, or?
That's all I have at this moment.
Okay.
I kind of, you know, wanted to focus this meeting on this next agenda item,
Okay.
and then, you know, kind of go from there for the next meeting.
Okay, anything else for Kevin before we move on? Nope? Okay, well, moving on. Let's go to 502.
Okay, so what I sent to, or what I put in front of you, it was not ready at the time of the agenda, but this is a historical financial summary of all of the actuals, and then the 2025 budget, as well as the current proposed at what we currently have with our current contracts, and the current rate that is set there. So you will see on the bottom line there that ending fund balance. While it looks a little strange last year because of having all of those insurance proceeds in and out, you kind of have to pull that out of there when you're looking at it. Basically, through the end of fiscal year 2026, without doing anything additional to what we're currently doing, you're down to around $14,000 in your fund balance, which we knew, you know, this needed to be done several years ago. So the cap itself the max has not been raised since 2007. And we have increased the amount within the rate. So we went from 120 per EU up to 128 in the fiscal 2024 budget. But $8 is not a whole lot to cover those increasing expenses over the years. So I wanted to provide you with this historical context. What these numbers don't show is kind of some of the things that haven't been updated over the years. So Kevin has put together a PowerPoint to kind of show you and highlight some of those things. And really what we just want is have a dialogue with you. We know that we need to increase this cap. I have put out to bid and got MBS, who is the same company that does your normal assessment districts, so they have your data. I believed that they were the best option. They were the only people actually that responded to the bid, and they gave us a really good price, a lot cheaper than what we were expecting, so we're definitely within budget there. There is a lot of legal things that we have to go through. We have to notice all the homeowners. We have to have a public hearing. We have to have a formal resolution. So they're going to assist with a lot of those things that I don't have some of the technical expertise on to get this over the finish line. But we just want to have, like I said, a dialogue with you, have Kevin kind of show you some of the highlights of some of the things that we're thinking. You can add any of the additional things that you're thinking, just as we've had the dialogue here with the street lights and et cetera, to make sure there's not anything we've missed or anything that the community would like to have additional. And from there, when we put together the timeline and the wish list and the ranking of that, we can then give that information to NBS. They'll do a forecast model to basically set what they feel that new cap, that new max should be. So keep in mind, this is to set the ceiling. This isn't necessarily to set the actual rate. The rate itself we can adjust as the budget needs to adjust from year to year, but this is to set the actual maximum that we would have legally to assess to the assessment district.
The
Okay?
old 128, basically,
Correct, the
right?
old 128. So this is to set the new.
The new one,
Correct.
the new number, whatever
Correct.
that may be,
Yes.
right?
But if, take some time to look at those numbers. If you have any questions in the meantime, let me know, reach out to me. I know it's a lot of data.
It is.
It's all historical information that's been pulled from the financials. So it is on the website, but unfortunately, you'd have to look at it year by year. So I thought it was easier to put it together in a snapshot for you so you could kind of see the history over the last several years here.
No, I do appreciate that.
So with that,
So timeline, let me
Yes.
just talk, you want to do Kevin's thing, or do you want to talk?
No, we can talk
Okay,
timeline
yeah,
really
just
quick,
talking
yeah.
timeline, okay? Will it, depending upon how it flows, do we go to the commissioners this June? Because I remember seeing the timeline out there on the.
correct.
on
So
the
it probably won't go in June. It would probably go either in July or August, but the goal is to have it put in place before the new budget's adopted.
Before the new budget's
Correct,
adopted. So
correct.
Okay, this.
Yep, this
okay.
fiscal year
Yeah, okay.
2026
And we've
budget.
been waiting 5 years.
Yes,
for this,
that
so
is
this is
that is
really,
the goal. I've had a lot of it's going back in the historical documents has taken a lot of time and
Yeah.
research, and working with the company, getting the bids and all those things back. So it's taken a lot to get through all of that red tape. But the company, you know, they know your assessment district very well. They've been doing the assessments for a long time. And so I feel really confident. I've had a couple of conversations with them to really give them the rundown on what we're looking for so that they know the scope. And so as soon as we give them this budget information, they're going to run with it.
so we don't meet again till August. Will we see that proposal prior to August?
We could have a special meeting.
Yeah, I think
If
we
we get it back before the budget workshop,
Yeah.
it'll be proposed at the budget workshop. You could come and attend the budget workshop. I don't foresee right now my estimate on having the public hearing for actually setting the max would probably be around the same time we normally do, which is the August meeting. So that's when there'll be public input to come in and discuss. Obviously, you know, you as the chair and any of you that are on the board can come in and do public input during that. But whatever the board decides, that will be what the staff report, you know, presents to the commission in that agenda item.
Yeah, it'd be nice just to see or just, you know, look at their proposed high levels to make sure it makes sense to us as well.
Sure, and we could do a special meeting.
Yeah, just to make sure it
whenever
makes
we get
sense.
it back, because they're going to be doing the Oak Forest one as well, so they're going to do them all kind of at one time. And but we could do a special meeting if you want to do that. If that's the will of the board, we can. As soon as I get it back, we can reach out to you for some dates and get that on the
Yeah,
calendar.
just to take a peek at it.
Sure.
You know, and I'm sure they'll build in, you know, CPIs, and
Correct,
inflation,
correct,
and
correct.
all kinds of things
That's
in there as
that.
well,
That would be
right?
part of the model. Correct.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see what that new 128 looks like
Mm-hmm.
down the road. And I also think this board didn't do a very good job of maybe increasing.
Incrementally.
We waited incrementally, correct. I think we waited a long time at 120. If we would have went, you know, we just went to 128 last year, right? I think that's what we
Yeah,
did, yeah.
correct.
We should
Increasing
have kind of been doing a
a
little
little
bit
bit, yeah.
more often instead of waiting to see, you know, we have a balance of $14,000 now, what do we do?
You know, unfortunately, I get the fun job of increasing fees or proposing increasing fees. It's not pleasant. So,
No.
you know, I can't speak for previous, but it
No.
could have been, you know, some apprehension on
I
that
mean, in
side.
2007, things have changed. And,
Yes.
I mean, things have gotten a lot more expensive since 2007, and we've been operating on that money. That's insane. And it's just come down. So I'm curious to see what Kevin's got to share
Yes.
with us.
Well, I put together a quick PowerPoint. It's just mainly it's all capital projects that wanted to kind of bring to you guys and get you guys feedback. They're projects with pricing basically to kind of give you an idea of what it's going to cost. It's a wish list, and again, like Holly said, you can add to it, you can take away from it. You know, we're just looking for kind of direction on where you want to go as a community. You know, again, add to it, take away from it, and prioritize, and then kind of give us a time frame. You know, if you want this to happen over the next 3 years, the next 5 years, just to kind of help, and it's going to help the rate study as well. Actually, that's, you know, is a key tool for the rate study. So, if you want to go to the next one.
Oh, you have the clicker. You can
Oh, do I?
Yes.
Where? Oh, well, look at there, it's on. I gotta make sure. I think. Yep, it's on. Okay. So, this is kind of a inventory of what you guys have in TLBD. It's, you know, you've got the 7 monument signs. You know, you've got 23 landscape medians, 15 acres of heavily landscaped area. You've got the 2 beautiful 57,000 gallon water features, 2 lighted flagpoles, and approximately 123 decorative street signs, stop sign poles. That was what we were talking about earlier, Mr. Jones, with the, you know, those are different poles versus the light poles, but, you know, but besides that. So just to redo all the landscape in the medians, it comes out. We've gotten hard numbers back from different vendors, and it averages out to about almost $48,000 per median. Some are higher, some are lower because of size, but that's approximately what it would take to rejuvenate the landscape That's not completely redoing. That's saving what's good and what can be reused, as far as sod and things like that. Because there's a lot of healthy turf out there, but there's a lot that's gone. A lot of older plants, things like that. But there are, trees that can be which is a big ticket item. This is really doing the understory, adding color, things like that, giving it that full lush look again. There's just some pictures of some of the bare areas, some of the the turf is going away, and also another thing is, the canopy's really filling in over this in a lot of these areas on the boulevard, on the boulevard. So light's becoming an issue. So what shrubs were there previously, that were planted there 10 years ago or so, they don't do so well with the light they're getting now. So it needs to be updated for that as well as some of the turf. And options on turf is, taking the turf away and just doing ground covers, jasmines, things like that, which in the long run comes out cheaper because the upkeep. So but all of that was factored in to that previous number, that this number here. So a lot of that was factored into that number, is taking some of the turf out in some of these areas where it doesn't make sense to have it anymore due to the canopy, due to the lack of light. Because, whether they say, oh, this St. Augustine grass is, like Seville or whatever, is shade tolerant. It needs sunlight. It needs at least a few hours of direct sunlight. And there's a lot of areas out there that did not get the sunlight they need to survive. So.
No, the canopies are beautiful.
Yeah, but we've got a lot of mature material out there as well that needs to be, it's starting to get a little leggy, starting to get, it's getting to, it looks nice, but again, it's only going to look nice for, a couple more years, and we're going to be replacing this as well before it's, starts to look like like this Thryallis here. It's tall, leggy, you can start to see through it, but you can't trim it down anymore because it won't bush back out anymore because of the age. So I just wanted to include a few of those pictures. These ligustrums, I don't know if you've noticed, but all over, not just this city, but many cities, especially, if you go down past the New Covenant, a lot of the ligustrums going that way in the median are dying out. And for the longest time, in the industry, we couldn't figure out what was going on with them. Well, it turns out it's from the hurricanes, believe it or not. They've actually split the larger ones. It really affects the larger ones, but some of the smaller ones are affected as well. It's actually splitting the winds have actually split the base. Wow. And they're growing fungus now. So, and we've treated with fungicide, but it's not, it appears to be a very resilient fungus, and it's affecting a lot of these ligustrums that way. So we're going to end up having to replace a few of them. But again, you got some bare, like I said, some bare areas in a lot of the beds, or but and again, that's where that money comes in. That's what I mean by just rejuvenating these islands, keeping what we can keep and updating what we need to update.
Is that all within 1 year, Kevin, you're thinking to do that?
No.
Or
This
thinking
and
that
that's
over a certain period
this
of
is
time,
this is
or-
what we're asking from you guys for
okay.
direction. Is you set the time. You tell us, hey, we want to do 5 a year, or 5, every 3 years, and we could start with the worst, and then by the time we get to the best, they'll be kind of rotating. You know what I mean? That I think that would probably be one of the best approaches, to be honest with you, because there's many medians that really don't, not in dire need.
No, there are some.
But there are some that I would say, yeah, I don't know if I'd pick 5 right this second that I'd say, yes, we need to do this right now. But there are a few of them that I'd throw in that first year category, or first couple of year
First
category.
round.
Yeah, first round for
So
sure.
what we do to kind of come up with a project plan of what we want to do, when, kind of thing?
Correct. So now we move on to the monuments. So these are all again, hard numbers that we've gotten from vendors for pricing. And for, as you could see, of course, the highest one would be the ones that we just redid. I got numbers on those again, for future, for the main entrance that we just redid, 4 or 5 years ago, I think. But this kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to take for each one of those different monuments to be completely redone. Now, this is a complete redo. This isn't saving anything in any of these monuments.
You're pulling down the brick and putting up new?
No,
Oh,
no.
Okay,
Brick
yeah.
sting. This is all landscaping and irrigation.
Landscaping, okay, okay.
Landscape and irrigation.
Okay,
So we're
okay.
revamping irrigation and removing and redesigning and reinstalling new landscaping. It's a complete redesign.
So that $1.1 million will put all new watering system in through?
No, not watering system.
Oh,
No.
Just-
So
just
that
plants.
in the
Just
medians,
plants,
so we've already addressed the irrigation going down the medians. We're good. That's on a up to date 2-wire Hunter system.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it's
okay.
no, that we don't want to tinker with that one.
No.
That's a good system. These, however, they're in the periphery. They run off of, a lot of them run off of, they're a battery operated clock that's hooked directly to the valve, the valve that's put in the valve pit. And then it comes on, you program it, comes on, and then you have to change the batteries in them, et cetera, et cetera. But these in particular this has its own clock. Seneca has its own clock, but it's not on that same system.
Got it. And you want to put them all on the same system? or
No.
No.
We're gonna actually update the systems that are
Okay,
there.
okay,
That's
got it.
all. That I was just saying this number includes that cost.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
Okay, sorry about that, yeah.
So, and then, we've got, again, all of these, and this is a cost, to do these, to strip them and repaint them, it's probably $400 a pole. And it needs to be done, every couple years to keep them looking nice and sharp. And then you got this, the big fountain. So as you see, just the monthly maintenance alone is $1,300 a month.
We
Yeah.
know.
So
We need to paint that too.
and then the north fountain renovation. So when I speak of the north fountain renovation, so we just did the south fountain completely redone.
Right.
That is completely redoing the north fountain. Now, this cost does include new pumps and everything that we're actually fixing to replace, so that can be taken out. This number was retrieved before the damage was this 42 that we're fixing to spend. We would
Which means
subtract some
this
of
number
that.
could go down.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm not a wordsmith. I get tongue-tied sometimes. So yes,
This-
that number can go
This
down.
budget could be very healthy, as far as I'm concerned.
Correct. So,
No going down in the fountain.
but this is just kind of, this is the last slide, but I just wanted to kind of, this in summary, this is where we're at.
Are we gonna get a copy of that, Kevin?
Absolutely, we can send them a copy, right? Yeah, she'll send you a copy.
Is anybody talking about the question that came up a couple of times recently was the color change?
No, we haven't, it's not something that's going to impact this project necessarily. And I haven't, again, everybody I talk to is kind of really dissuading, as far as anybody in the industry, they're kind of dissuading the color change. I don't know why, it's just not something if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing. Everybody keeps coming back saying the depth of them, they're too shallow, they're gonna get too hot, it's gonna wear your equipment, et cetera.
We'll throw it in the budget. We'll throw it in there,
Yeah.
just to have,
Yeah,
just as an item, let's just add something.
Okay.
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 Yeah,
The
and
other thing
that's,
I wanted to bring up is one of the homeowners at one point in one of our meetings talked about extending the wall behind somebody's property. I can't remember
Oh,
what
yeah.
unit it was. I think it was I think it was on, from Trotwood to the church almost, or to the last homeowner. I don't know, I can't remember the details. That apparently they gave their land up to the city, I think that's what they were saying, and they were promised a wall at one time many years ago, and I don't know if it's something we could think about extending our walls on both sides of the, of our subdivision.
I haven't ever heard of that, but we can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it did
I
come
do-
up at one of our meetings.
I do remember
don't
the conversation,
person's
and
name
I'm
who
trying to look
came,
back
but
at my
I do
notes.
remember. And we said at one time, you know, we thought that it could be a special taxing district and those homeowners can do it, but it's like just a small group of people in a little cul-de-sac, right? It's probably less than the Hawks Reserve people. But it may be nice to throw that in the budget about thinking about extending the walls, because they do kind of, it does, you know, it is part of Tuscarora, actually. And if I remember correctly, Oak Forest kind of has their wall all the way through the
Yes, they
Winter
do.
Springs Boulevard,
Tuscarora.
Tuscarora Road.
Yeah.
Okay. It would be nice if Tuscarora can also have their wall all the
Talking
way
about
through.
Trotwood and Tuscarora,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, over there, yeah, yeah.
What about the other,
On the other side as well, we should do something there
that one-
too.
That was a nightmare with all the wooden fences.
Fences
around
and the whole 9
property.
yards, and if we could extend the wall
That's a
that way
lot
too.
more
Well, I
fencing.
think we had an estimate once on that side of like $500,000. Somebody had quoted at one of the meetings to extend the fountain side out. But we never did get a cost on the, church side, to,
Church side,
yeah.
North of Trotwood.
I think it would look nice, and I think if we're gonna continue to, you know, improve the environment of Tuscarora and the board, I think it would be something
Worth looking at.
we should add to the list.
On something like that, in my opinion, typically because that's going to last, 30 to 40 years, that would be something that you would put on like a capital assessment. So you guys do have a capital assessment. You still currently have a debt due, paying off the wall that you currently have. But if it is, roughly $500,000 or upwards of that, I would recommend something in a financing nature, something like that, and add that as a capital item to spread that over a longer period of time. The maintenance assessment is really more for kind of your annual ongoing items. That capital, you'd probably, like I said, want to spread that over a longer time period.
So how do we pursue how do we look into doing something like that then?
Well, it would be very similar to what we're doing right now with the maintenance. Based on everything I've read, we could, get quotes on what it would cost, potentially look at lending options for something like that. Back in the 90s, they did bonds. I don't think we would need bonds for something like this. We could do a note or even ask a bank with the note. I believe BB&T currently holds our note that we're paying off right now if they'd be willing to offer a lending, and usually use the revenue backed from the assessment district for that type of thing. But we could look into it. We can look and see what the cost would be concerned with. I would say we want to separate that from our current maintenance piece with a future plan of looking into that maybe in a future fiscal year and get this maintenance part straightened out first. But we can definitely research and figure out cost and funding and all of those sorts of things if that's the will of the board.
Yeah, because we did look at that one side, we put some trees up, and
Well,
they didn't really
then we
mature or
painted
anything.
all
We
the
painted a
fence-
fence up, and it
painted
looks
the
like it's
fences
falling
green.
down.
It's a wooden
I just think the wall would just add more to the community, actually.
Okay, so
Um,
could you give us kind of the exact, so you said extending the wall, you said it's a Trotwood Park, and what was the other cross street?
No,
She's,
Trotwood
she's
and
talking about
Tuscarora.
from, on the south.
No, I know that, but there was
okay.
two different,
Mr. Sybil
two
would
different
might have-
spots,
Oh, yeah, but
right?
we have a resident here. Can
Oh.
he take the
Yeah,
podium really quick?
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Public
You
input.
don't mind?
Public
'Cause
information, please.
I know the history.
Okay, oh, great,
Because
great.
it's my wall.
Oh, it's your
I'm the
wall.
one who has the wall, and that was part of, the city did not pay me for the easement, as is normally done. Instead, I got the wall done as, that was the bargain between the city and me for the easement on my property to do the monument, I think is what you call it.
Oh, correct, right.
And after I got that done, seems like, and I'm not totally clear on this, but it seems like there's sort of a phase 1 and a phase 2 with the district. And in the phase 2, my fellow homeowners along, it's Sibylwood Circle is the part of Sibylwood that backs up to Tuscaloosa Road. That's what it is. And for some reason, the developer put in a fence that was well within inside all of our properties. And so we owned property beyond that and had to maintain it anyway. It was a mess. Most of the people have extended their fences out. One hasn't. But I had a petition, all of the then homeowners who are along there joined in the petition to have the wall extended there. Again, as you just said, the whole purpose being Oak Forest has this gorgeous wall.
Yeah.
That was done all the way down their property on both ends. So it was in part to at least match that in terms of quality. But when it went into the second thing, it was kind of, hey, we've got enough projects. We've reached the end of what our money that was allocated for this, and so we can't do it. If we do something again, we'll consider it. So what you're talking about is exactly what was promised 20 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I think
So
it
I
was.
hope that gives you a little bit of
Well, glad for the
perspective.
history. Yeah, no, I do appreciate, I do remember hearing this before, so I would like to pursue looking to extend the wall on both sides, even on the other side, because we
Yeah.
have,
That would, yeah, that
it
would.
would really
Just so
look
you know,
nice.
The other, from Trotwood, the only other side, there already is a wall, that's Father Blewett's property. That's, what's
no.
his address, 1201
Yeah,
maybe?
something like that, yeah.
Trotwood. Anyway, so there is a wall that goes to the school.
Oh, I'm talking about the
So
other
this
side of
is
the other
going-
fountain.
yeah. Oh, well, then that's-
Yeah, the south fountain.
The
Yeah.
south
well,
fountain, I'm talking
no.
about the south fountain.
Oh, you're talking about from, I'm
South
sorry.
fountain to, because there's a green fence there. Yeah, there's some kind of green fence that we painted
We
at one
painted the
time.
fence.
Yeah.
And it's,
It's all falling down, I think.
the fence is falling down, and we put up some trees to kind of camouflage it a bit, I think, at one time.
And the
Yeah.
fence is where the homeowner's fence
Is the
I think.
homeowner's fence,
Yes.
right, it's
Not
not
the
even
city's.
ours. So I was saying, take it from the end of the fountain to wherever the property ends, right? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I would really like to see us do something like
Let's,
that.
I think they're gonna get the proposal,
Yeah, so
Yes.
okay?
Do you need anything from us for that, or no? You
Not
need
to get
us
the
make a
proposal.
I don't
motion or
believe
anything
so.
like
We
that?
can kind of
Okay.
get some rough estimates and bring that back and then get some further direction. Like I said, I think in this instance, we want to separate that from the maintenance. We can go ahead and get
Okay.
the maintenance done and proceed forward with that.
Okay, Kevin, in the estimate, the gentleman just spoke about lighting and electric over there at the monuments.
Yes.
Is there any future thing that we need to look at electric and lighting
You know,
for
that-
monuments
That's
here?
actually something that, that's more of it's a maintenance issue versus,
Could it run into money? I mean,
well, I wouldn't, you know, it could. That's something, let me look into that. It
Okay.
could be possibly something that we could
could,
do
yeah,
a
just
capital,
saying.
yeah, it could be.
maybe it's 50,000, or, I don't know what the cost
Yeah,
would
it-
be. And it may not be the only monument that
Yeah.
needs it, right? It may be
No,
other monuments that
it's
need it
not.
as well, right?
Absolutely, okay.
I don't know what's in front of the reserves.
Yeah.
Do they have electric? Do they have I don't know what all that is. And the little one on Dyson, I don't know if he's got lighting, light it up. make
Yeah,
it-
they actually all have lighting.
Oh, they do?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, they all
It's
have
just
their
not
own.
working correctly.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, they've been,
And then we looked at flagpoles at one time, putting solar on them. Is that just a
well, we
maintenance
did,
item?
I
one.
did the first one, and then we actually ended up having to rerun, the electrical, and we're back, yeah, we're kinda, I don't think it's quite where it needs to be
No.
right now for commercial. This is more of a commercial application versus a residential application,
Okay.
where it can be babied every day or every week or every month, or cleaned off or whatever. So, yeah, I believe that's more of I think that might be a little further down the line as far as solar goes. We're gonna stick with the electric,
I'm
low
gonna
voltage.
share with you a picture of one of my neighbors who has solar on there, and
Yeah.
it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna share it. I don't know where he got it from, but I'm sure
Okay.
just take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And will this include any electronics or state-of-the-art, internet type of notifications for you on flooding or pump failures? Or
Yes,
is that
so
all in there as well?
The,
Because we
yes,
seem
the,
to have that
the fountain,
issue.
yes, the fountain, the rejuvenation for the, yes, that part does include that for me.
Okay, and like, remember, we had a big leak on Winter Springs Boulevard once, and it was like leaking for months or whatever the heck it was. On the irrigation system, are you notified of any major
So,
leaks?
not
Because-
currently, we don't have flow sensors,
Oh, you
as of right now. That's something that can be looked into as well. It can be added to this.
yeah,
That would be a cost.
Yeah,
That would be
okay.
a,
Let's look into that to add it to here too. I'm not trying to make the list even
No,
bigger, but if
well,
we're
this
asking
is-
them to do a study and paying for it, let's
Yeah.
just put it in there and see what they come out, what they
And
crank out.
that's what we need.
We can
We
always
need you
cut
guys
if we have to cut
to give us
something
direction.
out, if we don't like the number.
exactly.
Or it becomes something we do, 5 years down the road and don't do it right away.
Correct.
I'm just trying to try to make your life easier as well, because when we have those water leaks, they cost us
Money.
$3,000 and $4,000
Yeah.
sometimes.
Before you realize it.
Okay, anything else you want to add?
You want to consider a special meeting in the near future?
Yeah, I think we'll have a special meeting once
Yeah.
Holly said that
Correct.
she'll get us.
Yeah, so
Okay.
as soon
On
as
the
I
calendar.
am able to give MBS the information and get a more definite timeline from them on what the turnaround time will be, I can reach out. I'll have Tristan, the clerk, reach out to you to schedule a special meeting to go
Okay.
over the results of the study for sure.
Mhm.
So just kind of one final question. What are your thoughts on the timing of these? So I know Kevin kind of talked about, doing certain medians. Would you be looking to kind of do them all at once, or would you be looking to space it out? What is kind of the expectation of the board as far as, are we looking at 3 years, 5 years? What are your thoughts on,
So let's think about that really quick.
How many there's 23?
23 medians.
islands, you said?
Yeah, there's 23 medians.
How often would you like to see them turned over? Every 5 years?
I would say
Three?
it ideally every 5. I mean, it would definitely keep you, and keep this in mind that cost is going to go down after this first go round. This
So
first
if you
go
did
round is
4 islands
this
a
is
year,
your biggest punch, because if you're staying on top of it, a year after, or say, biannually or whatever, if you stay on top of it, your cost is going to stay a lot lower. So it's a possibility you could even,
3 years.
I'd say 3 to 5.
I would say 3. Let's go
If
with
you did
3.
6 to 7 a year, you would knock them out in 3 years.
Yeah, I say 3.
Is that, you like that?
Yeah, I like that.
okay,
And the other thing, Holly, that's not maybe in our current budget is this fertilizer and fungicides and mulch.
Correct.
Let's just make sure we have
Yep.
that also baked into
Correct.
future outlooks, because it's not in the numbers in the trend.
correct. And that's going to be part of what Kevin and I, with the current ongoing maintenance of what we have, I'm going to rely on him to tell me when things need fungicide and, when things need mulch, and build that into this to give to NBS,
Yeah, okay,
so
good.
they can project it out.
Yeah, because
Yes.
it's currently not there, so
Correct,
we wouldn't
correct.
know to add it.
Correct.
I'm trying to think of anything
Mhm.
else that we would need to add. We have spare pumps, right? I mean,
Yeah, we've got two, yeah.
we're good there. Okay. Okay, I think, anybody else? Nope. Okay, we're back to, you good?
Okay. I believe
3 to 5
I have
years?
three, yeah, we'll say 3 years for now.
Yes.
And as soon as I get a timeline from NBS, again, I'll reach out and we can have a special meeting to go over the results of that. Did anything scare you as far as, I mean, I know the numbers.
No, I think
were-
it is great. I think
Okay,
it was very
awesome,
comprehensive.
awesome.
I think you all did a great job. You included a lot of things in there. I mean, I expected it to be expensive, in today's environment, that's what it is. And we definitely have an aging infrastructure. I mean, some of these plants have been here 40 years.
For a long
and
time, yeah.
And things have changed, like Kevin said. Canopies have inhibited
over.
the growth of stuff that was under there. I
You
think
know-
the canopies are beautiful. I
Yeah,
love
no, they
driving
are.
down the road
There's
with
certain
the 2 oak
sections where they're
trees
complete.
that-
Yeah, it's gorgeous. One thing I did want to add real quick, in a lot of these areas, like say Tuscarora, that monument entrance with that median there, you know, that median, I don't know if you've noticed, but those root flares are so high, you know, from the palms that are in there. I mean, it's very root bound in there. So once this stuff starts to be done, this pricing includes bringing all that stuff back down and being able to plant back in there again. But that's why some of it is a little inflated. It's just because of the amount of labor that's going to have to go in because it's not new construction,
Right.
you know,
Right.
so.
And that's today's prices. When the MBS folks get it, or whoever, they're
Correct,
going to
they're gonna
project out what
project
the
it out.
future prices are.
Correct.
Correct.
Right, okay.
And I also just wanted to add one more talking
Yeah.
point, just to kind of give you guys a gut check on the dollars and cents and what it would take. So I did just a quick calculation to increase it another $100
Right.
annually.
Right.
That would bring in revenue of approximately $423,000. So if we're gonna split this, 3 to 5 years, I mean, that's a decent estimate, to be able to break down these large, turnovers. So just so you guys are aware, when you see a dollar figure, adding another $100 a year, that's what it brings in based on the EUs of the assessment district.
Right, and in 2007, the cost of these homes here were a whole lot cheaper than they are today, right? I mean, I've seen real estate folks charging over $1.2 million for some of these homes in here, you know.
I was here, I've been here for 38 years.
So
I
in
know.
2007, they were nowhere near $1.2 million, right? So they're getting the benefit of the beautification
Correct.
of what this
Correct.
board's task
Correct.
was.
Correct.
So $100 a year, I think, is
You said that
not
would
all
bring
that
in-
much when you
Gonna be
think about dividing that by
Yeah.
12. It's
Yeah.
pretty,
$20 a
it's
month.
still
Yeah.
pretty,
Pretty
$20 a
reasonable.
month.
Yeah.
It's not all going to be that.
Yeah, so an additional.
But I do
100
appreciate you calculating.
Yeah.
it.
You wanted to know the number again?
Yeah, what did you say that would bring in?
So for an additional $100 per EU is $423,000.
23?
Yeah,
Okay.
approximately, yeah. With being on the ad valorem tax bill, if you pay your taxes in November, you get a 4% discount. So we have to take that into consideration, that everybody's going to pay it in November. So that's why you get about $96 for every dollar that you assess, or 96 cents for every dollar that you assess.
Oh, that's
Keep that in
interesting.
mind.
Yeah, you don't get the full one.
Mm-hmm, correct. But with that,
Okay,
appreciate it.
we open up for back to public input here. Any other public input? Only once? Twice? Nope, no public input. We're adjourned.
Yeah, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
We're adjourned. We're good? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr.